What if the life you were rushing to build is the same life you were slowly losing? Sometimes the most important lesson about time comes when a clock stops ticking. On the quiet edge of a small town stood a narrow shop with faded blue walls and a wooden sign that read Elias and Son Clock Repairs. Most people walked past it without a second glance, but inside that small shop, time lived. Hundreds of clocks covered the walls, tall grandfather clocks with deep wooden bodies, tiny brass alarm clocks ticking nervously, pocket watches resting on soft velvet. The air was filled with a gentle orchestra of ticking, soft, steady, endless. Behind the counter sat Elias, an old clockmaker with silver hair and kind eyes. His hands trembled slightly with age, but whenever he held a broken watch, they became steady again, almost young. One afternoon, the shop door swung open. A young man hurried inside. His name was Daniel. His suit was sharp. His phone buzzed constantly in his hand. His eyes carried the tired look of someone who had not truly rested in years. "Are you Elias?" he asked, breathless. "I am," the old man replied calmly. Daniel placed a gold wristwatch on the counter. "It stopped working. I need it fixed today. It was expensive." Elias lifted the watch carefully, turning it under the light. "Everything expensive is not always valuable," he said softly. Daniel frowned. "I just need it repaired." Elias nodded and pointed toward a wooden chair. "Sit. It will take some time." Daniel hesitated. Time was the one thing he believed he could not spare. But he sat. As Elias opened the back of the watch, Daniel's phone rang again. He silenced it with irritation. "You seem troubled," Elias observed. "I am building something big, a company, investors, deadlines, competition. If I slow down, I lose everything." Elias did not answer immediately. He removed a tiny gear from the watch and placed it gently on a cloth. "Tell me," he said, "when was the last time you had dinner with your family without checking your phone?" Daniel shifted in his seat. "That is not important." Elias looked up, his eyes soft but firm. "It is the only thing that is important." The shop grew quieter, though the ticking never stopped. Elias stood and walked to a tall grandfather clock in the corner. Its wood was scratched, its glass was cracked. "This clock belonged to my father. It survived war, hunger, and loss. It has been repaired many times." He placed his hand gently on it. "Do you know why it still works?" Daniel shook his head. "Because it rests." Every pendulum must swing back before it can move forward. Without the backward motion, there is no time. The words hung in the air, heavier than the ticking around them. Daniel looked around the shop. Some clocks were new and shining. Others were old, worn, and imperfect. Yet they all moved at the same steady pace. Tick, tick, tick. "I thought success meant never stopping," Daniel said quietly. Elias smiled. "No, success is knowing when to pause." He held up the tiny broken gear. "This piece is small, almost invisible, but without it, the entire watch stops." He met Daniel's eyes. "In life, the small moments are the gears. Family dinners, quiet mornings, laughter, rest. Remove them, and everything else eventually breaks." An hour later, Elias closed the back of the watch and wound it gently. The ticking returned, soft, steady, alive. Daniel held the watch close to his ear. For the first time in months, he felt something unfamiliar, calm. "How much do I owe you?" he asked. Elias waved his hand. "Bring me something more valuable next time." Daniel looked confused. "Bring me your time," Elias said. "Tell me how you are living it." That evening, Daniel drove home earlier than usual. He left his phone in the car. When he stepped into the house, his mother looked surprised. "You're home early." He nodded. "I am learning how to use time," he said softly. They sat together at the table. No buzzing phones, no rushing footsteps, just conversation, just laughter. Outside, the sky turned golden, then deep blue. Inside, time moved gently. Tick, tick, tick. Years later, Daniel still owned that watch. He built his company. He found success. But every evening, when the workday ended, he removed the watch, placed it on his desk, and listened to its steady rhythm. Not as a reminder of deadlines, but as a reminder of balance. Because he had learned something most people realize too late. Time is not something to chase, it is something to honor. Moral of the story: one day your clock will stop ticking, and on that day, no amount of money, success, or busy schedules will buy back a single moment you ignored. So tell me in the comments, what small moment in your life do you want to protect more starting today? And if this story reminded you of someone who works too hard or forgets to slow down, share it with them. Because sometimes the greatest gift you can give a person is a reminder to value their time.